Hi, I'm Robbie. Let's enter the gray zone. Well, welcome again. Thank you for entering the Gray Zone. This is the podcast, of course, where our theories go to die, theology gets tested, and as always, we remember on the other side of all our issues is a person whom God loves. I am Robbie, your host, and thank you for all of you who are listening. Today, we have part one of a two-part episode, and that is with Pastor Tim Michael, a very dear friend of mine, all the way from Melbourne, Australia. And we're going to, today in part one, talk to Tim about his experience leaving church after many, many years of serving, and how to leave well, and what was challenging in that. How do you know that you're hearing from God? And this was leaving, amidst sort of a scandalous time at a big church that you would probably know the name of, and that would come up in the episode. I'm not going to give anything away, not that it's a secret or anything, but we wrestle with how do you do that well? How do you love people? How do you not make it awkward when you're still living in the same neighborhood and seeing the same people? What do you do? And so we just wrestle with that in his journey and knowing when to leave and how to leave and do it well, and also remain, above all, a member of the Christian body, which is bigger than the signs that we walk under when we go into church on a Sunday morning. While there's a lot of specifics to his story, there's a lot of generalities that I think can help a lot of people in maybe navigating that journey themselves. So enjoy this part one of our two-part episode with Tim Michael. Well, welcome and thank you for entering the Gray Zone yet again. My name is Robbie Ortiz. I have a very, very cool guest today, a man that I really love and respect, and we're going to talk about the new old way of church planting and the things that happen when we leave a church that we love and have been a part of for a long time. I think that's a common story. So please welcome to the podcast, Mr. Tim Michael.
Thank you so much, Robbie. It's so good to be here with you, my friend. It's great to see you. Any chat with you is a great chat. So thanks so much for having me, mate. And g'day to all the listeners as well.
Now, if you can't tell, Tim is from Texas. Very strong Texas.
Very strong. Down south, yeah.
Yeah, a little further south than Texas. So, Timmy, you were in Melbourne as long as I knew you. Is that actually where you were born?
No, I was actually born in a little village, coastal village in Western Australia called Albany. Yeah. And I'm the youngest of five kids. My parents immigrated in the 70s, so 71 from Burma. And so I grew up in this little country town, 600 people, a little over 600 people. You're either white Australian or Indigenous Australian, or you're the seven of us Michael family. So they're the three shades of brown. So I grew up kicking the footy with some amazing, footy, Australian rules football here, playing cricket, playing tennis, very Australian. My oldest brother used to shear sheep. So I think I've had a very Australian upbringing. And then moved over to Melbourne when I was 10. I lived in the UK for a bit and have been in Melbourne ever since.
How good, man. Yeah. I don't think I ever asked you that question, so that's cool. And we worked together sort of tangentially, not necessarily side by side, unfortunately, while we were both doing pastoral care at HILLSONG.
That's right.
And when I first joined, I was, feeling kind of young and kind of new to doing pastoral care. And I still remember we got on a Zoom call with all the leaders, over a few states and many cities. And I'm like, oh, there's another guy here who's as young as me. Oh, I feel a lot better. Because if you're looking at the video, man, this is, Tim looks about 20, 30 years younger than he has any right to look. But I told him that. I was like, I was so excited, someone my age. And he's like, well, mate, I might be a little bit older than you.
Yeah, I just turned 51 this year. So
you did.
I did. So, but I loved it because everyone compared me with this young, pastor, Robbie. I loved it. So I was like, oh, it's cool. I'm in the cool gang. If Robbie's in it, I'm in it.
There you go. No, but we hit it off, and I mean, at least on my side of the table, I was like, oh man, it was really good to have a friend like you to talk with, and you're very very much one of those people that I hold in esteem in that what I say is like a true pastor, like just pastorally hearted. You really genuinely love people, Tim. And so I love that about you. And we're talking this gray zone space today is kind of, we're going to look at two different topics, and maybe we do a 2-part episode just so I have an excuse to talk to Tim as long as I want. But we're going into this generically after you've been in a church for a long time and you sense it's your time to leave. Yeah. What does that look like? And then, maybe we can get more granular with your personal experience, Tim. Yeah. Yeah. But do you want to walk us through just a little bit of your journey coming into the church world that we were in together and coming out of that church world, and how you knew what parts of it were your choice, what parts maybe didn't feel like your choice or weren't your choice and stuff. And kind of, tell us a little bit about what happened.
Yeah. So I guess my journey started in 2000. I went over to London. I found a small little church of about 80, 90 people called HILLSONG London. I genuinely thought, okay, I've heard of this church, but I'm pretty sure they're just copying their name. Didn't realize it was actually affiliated with HILLSONG in Sydney. But my wife and I walked in and we just loved it. And what was supposed to be a year working holiday in London turned out to be 8.5 years of volunteering as a creative pastor at HILLSONG London, and just loved it. Just saw a lot of people added to the church, but just to this day, we still have our best friends in London and around the world. Our first Connect group we went to, we still keep in contact with 26 years later, and we're all pastoring in different parts of the world, which I think is an amazing thing. So we moved back to Melbourne in 2008. We planted a church, and that became a part of what is HILLSONG Melbourne. So literally closed our church on a Sunday and opened our church, opened the first Connect group in our home for HILLSONG Melbourne on the Tuesday. And so being part of the fabric of HILLSONG Melbourne for a while, and just loved it. And so we saw that grow from one campus to 5 campuses in Melbourne, Victoria. And so, early 2022. So my role varied. I came on staff as a campus pastor, and then took on the role of pastoral care oversight for 5 campuses in Victoria, 2 in Tasmania, and 1 in Fiji. Long story about how Fiji became part of my world, but loved it. And so and took care of HILLSONG College down in Melbourne as well. So definitely very active part of HILLSONG Melbourne. Then a couple of years ago, I was sitting down New Year's, and my wife and I often reflect about the year, but often just ask God, what do you want us to do? And so 2022, January, for a few months, I just had that niggling feeling, just step out. And I was like, what does that even mean? Step out. Like, what does that mean? Like to do what? But with that feeling, we've heard that voice a few times, and we've just known just to trust it. So we sat down with our kids on January 1, 2022, and sort of said, look, by the time this year's done, we probably won't be in our roles. We probably won't be in this church. We don't know what this means. And our 3 kids kind of said to us, yeah, well, that was pretty obvious. So we were like, what do you mean by that? It's like, well, right. You've been speaking to us about this for a while. We thought you knew. So does this face look like I know? So Mum and Dad
just asked the kids.
Yeah. So we kind of said, next time God speaks to you so clearly, make sure you tell us, because there's a high chance that we may not have heard that.
Right.
So we went back from summer holidays in January and I had 2 oversights, 2 managers at the time, and sort of gave 6 months notice and sort of said, listen, this is what we're thinking. We'd love to invite you to pray with us, to talk with us, to tell us we're doing the wrong thing if you need to, but just to speak into this situation and to our circumstances. So we kind of went on a bit of a journey. That same year, my mum had passed away, and I came back for my first day of bereavement leave, and that's when global pastor, senior pastor, my first morning back was him resigning from church. So it was a very big morning, as is always the case. I mean, Robbie, if ever there was a moment, in staff meetings, the instruction would be, if you have any issues, please speak with your pastoral care staff member. But I think, a lot of people have obviously taken that as if I'd known what was going to happen. And so it caused a bit of a riff with some of our relationships, which glad we, I'm so thankful that we mended, but it did cause a lot of confusion. Like, surely I must have known, but I obviously didn't. So that began a year that was quite a difficult year in our church. Yeah. And so instead of finishing in July at conference, where, when the date that we'd set, we ended up staying till November. There was just a lot of hurt. There's a lot of disappointment. So it wasn't really the best time for me to leave and step out. We didn't really feel that. And so, but towards the end, we end up just being challenged in ourselves that we're being probably more true to this season rather than this voice telling us to step out. But looking back, I would definitely see that as God's kindness to us. It was a difficult year, it definitely was, but did we leave because it was a difficult year? No, we left because there was something to move into, even though we didn't really know what that looked like. So.
Yeah. And boy, yeah, we both have stories, I'm sure, for that year that we can, we'll give that to the Patreon users only. You guys can hear all the fun. I was kidding.
Yeah.
But it was, that was a hard year. And those moments happen. And I think there's a lot of people who can relate to that because there have been big shakeups like that in many churches, especially here in North America.
Yeah.
And so for you, you were confirming the word you had already received.
Yeah.
And just letting that be your guide, even though it felt like, man, it would be good to stay and help and heal and fix and love.
I think especially, Robbie, I mean, you get this. You're a people pastor. You get people. When you see people hurting, the last thing you want to do is leave. The first thing you want to do is rush into that burning fire, right? And you want to help as many people as you possibly can. So in actual fact, it was actually real. I actually found myself quite traumatized leaving in this season. Like everyone wants to leave on a high. But the idea of leaving when things are a bit of a mess, and not only a bit of a mess, there's a lot of good people, beautiful people, just asking themselves a lot of questions. But I was speaking with a really close friend, and he said, Tim, they're not your people to pastor. They're not your people, they're God's. And for me, that was I can breathe. It's okay. God is faithful. He's the most faithful shepherd you'll ever encounter. But it kind of helped me to kind of realize, I can't be in control. And I think that was the thing that it spoke to me about. I cannot control the world and the things that happen in it. I can only do the best I can. So,
That's really beautiful. And it is that instinct to like, I want to at least love these people through this and help heal them. And we even with the best intentions, we can put way too much power in our hands to think if I'm there, then it's going to be better. And if I'm not,
it's going to be okay. I can change all of this, right?
I can fix him and it's going to be good. I listen to Steve Cuss a lot. I don't know if you've come across him, but he's great in mental health and counseling and stuff, and was a hospital chaplain, which he talks about a lot. Right. And he talks about how his early lessons were realizing that he had to take a lot more stock about what was going on inside of him than he thought. You think, I just walk in, little empathy, I understand where everyone is, and I start to go to work on them. And you can incidentally bring yourself, your unchecked, unthought about, unregulated self into the room and cause a whole lot of problems accidentally, because we're not actually going, wait, why am I walking into this,
Yeah.
And for you, that seems like that was a watershed moment.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think my ego, I think all of our egos, but my ego can get myself into a whole lot of independence from where the Holy Spirit wants me to be, where he wants me to move, and how he wants me to speak and how he wants me to listen. But we've got those unfiltered ego, that thing of, I've got this, I'm in control. I know what to do. I've read about this in Bible college once. Like if I've got all that kind of stuff going on in my mind, I forget the one person that I need the most in those moments, and that's the Holy Spirit. And And if nothing else, it causes us just to walk in and not even listen, and not to be even aware of not only the Holy Spirit, but the person who's actually in need, because we're so busy trying to go about fixing things. So the idea of just stopping and pausing and just putting down our feelings and our emotions and our preconceived ideas, and just having an openness, it makes you a lot more inquisitive. You tend to ask a lot more questions, and really good questions, because you need to know, you want to know more, and you have to know more. You have to learn more in those circumstances. So, yeah, I'm super grateful for the idea that we felt like we're moving towards something rather than just leaving something. We knew part of moving towards that is a leaving behind. But I'm so glad, definitely still have some emotions and some thoughts about that. I lost some really good friends, lost some great relationships, just the regular people that you'd see on a Sunday morning. You just miss those kind of conversations. The phone doesn't ring as much, but we kind of knew that would be the case. But I'm so glad, though, that we're not just leaving that, where we actually had moved towards something. And I think that's a big part, I think, of leaving church, leaving anything really, is what am I heading towards? I think that's quite a theme throughout the Bible. Abraham had to leave his family, had to leave his homeland to go towards where God was calling him. The disciples had to leave their nets and their boats to follow after Jesus. There's a sense of leaving something, but it's not just leaving, it's going towards something that God's got for us. And I think that thought has really helped me navigate this season in my life. Yeah.
Well, and even considering you're talking about taking stock of yourself, it's like that sounds like good advice to people who might be in that space of, do we stay, do we go? Has God made it clear where you're going, or if there's something to go to?
Yeah.
Because a lot of the time, I think people can just, we're done, we're leaving.
Yeah.
We got hurt, we got offended, or there's bad things. There's legitimate reasons, obviously, to leave church, not just hurt, but it's also good to go, like, what are we going to? Yeah. And because we had that too when we made our decision, which took about a year to finalize.
Yeah.
We felt like there was something. There was a two. There was, okay, we believe we're moving towards something. Turns out there was a whole lot of desert in between the two, which is another podcast, Tim. But it was similar for us. That helped ease the decision.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. I think there's that there is that thing of just trusting God in that moment, and the idea of, there's two reasons why people will leave anything. Is because this current circumstances become so painful and so depleting of passion, of energy, of life, that we become so uncomfortable that we can't stay here anymore. But then there's also this thing of, I'm leaving because what's ahead of me is so much greater, and I can see so much more life and so much more of what God has for me, or whatever that excitement, that passion looks like. That stepping into that looks so much greater than what I currently have. So I'm going to trade where I am right now for something better. And if there was a healthier way to leave, it would be that you don't look at this and go, okay, I'm in so much pain. Unfortunately, as you said, a lot of people have had to leave because of painful circumstances in church, especially in churches. But just knowing that God has a plan. I don't know whether this is a truism, but I kind of see that because there have been so many people have left churches in this era. Lots of good churches, perhaps, and maybe left for good reasons and maybe left for bad reasons. But this idea that the church has always been scattered for whatever reason, whether it be economics, whether it be politics, whether it be social circumstances. And I think probably that's what we're seeing in the church and Western church, is there's been a scattering of people. But what do we want to see grow where we've been scattered? Do we want to see more hurt and more of that reflection back? Or do we want to see a growth of faith, of some real compassion, a real empathy for people who've gone through the dark side of the world, And I think that can do that. I think it's definitely made me a softer person, a little bit more understanding, a little bit more of a patient person with people's what I would have seen as it's their issue, their hang up before. It's like, actually, no, I think we've all got hang ups and I think we've all got issues.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of how much we want them to control and have authority in our lives. And so helping people with that, knowing that we've gone through a very similar experience as well. Even though I've left for great reasons, yeah, definitely there's some disappointments, there's some emotional loss, there's some relational loss and all those kinds of things. But in genuine, I would definitely genuinely say that God has been faithful to us and God's been very kind to us.
Yeah, amen. And you've previously said like you kind of were intentional to try to not let it be weird.
Yeah,
you're still living where you lived.
Yeah, absolutely.
Still there.
Absolutely. I do catch up with some of the, the campus pastors from church. I remember walking in the first time walking into one of the campuses, and you could just sense, when people leave, you're almost like you're almost a leper. Yeah, surely he would have left for bad reasons. Something either I've done something bad or someone's done something bad to me. And it's actually, I remember it being really super awkward around me. And I remember talking to the campus pastor, and he was a little bit like, he could sense the room. And I said to him, listen, if we're going to be awkward, it's always going to be awkward. Let's just embrace the awkwardness and own it, and let's go past it. And thankfully, there's been people who have done that really well. And so, I'm able to walk into some campuses without people going, oh, he's back. It's like, no, I'm not. Just want to be here because either I missed you or because one of my friends is preaching. I wanted to support him tonight. I think that's a good thing. I think modeling that we still love each other, even though we're not in each other's world, I think that can mean a lot to people. And I think that there's a great space for the church to mature and to heal and to model what does it mean to leave something but still love something. I think it can be done.
Yeah, that's really well said, because I think that could apply in broad strokes to a lot of the ways we treat people.
Yeah.
And, everyone is traumatized these days, it seems. And I don't mock that, but it is in the water. And a lot of it is legitimate, but it's also not a badge we want to wear forever.
Yes.
So it's at some point, I just had a conversation with another lady about like, at one point, do we take ownership for our healing, even though the trauma was not necessarily our fault?
Yeah.
And in a way, you were doing that in a really gentle way. You were like, I know this was weird. Yeah. I know how people might be saying these things. I'm not going to grab onto that. I'm going to be like, you know what? If you're willing, I'm willing.
Yeah.
To be friendly, to be Christians, to be people, and to, as the meme says, right? We're not in gangs, so we can still talk to people who go to different churches just because they left our church, right? I'm sure we've all seen that meme fly around, right?
Yeah.
Christians aren't in gangs.
Yeah, I think also, I think how we left and how we're announced, where we live with this 5 campuses, some of those campuses chose to announce that we were leaving, some chose not to. And so I was on a platform on most Sundays in different campuses. So, suddenly I'm around, and for some people they prayed me out. Some campuses prayed me out, which, again, it's that sense of being sent, being blessed. Some people didn't say anything. And so still bumping into people from those campuses, and they have no idea why I've left. And some people didn't even know what left.
Right.
So I think those kind of things can really help, because again, we've gone on this journey of trusting God. We've heard from God. It's a bit like, a preacher who's prepared a message and they've prepared their hearts. They've been pondering this for weeks, months, days, who knows? But they've had a chance to reflect on this message. But for the first time on Sunday morning when they deliver that message is when people who've just walked in off the street have heard this message and they're expected just to get it. And so I'm very aware that, people won't understand this journey. They may never hear this side of our story, and that's okay. We had to be okay knowing that if people had a narrative that was different to ours, it's okay. We weren't going to let that rule our story at the end of the day. So, yeah. I think communicating as best you can with the people that you can. I think, and knowing that there will be people who misunderstand, that's life. There will be people who disagree, that's life. There will be people who don't want to hear a different perspective because their narrative is so strong, but that's okay. At the end of the day, you can only live the life that you've been given. It's a bit like watching the sports. I follow the 49ers. So far, so good.
Okay, this interview's over. Hold on.
3-1.
You and my pastor would get along.
So I can talk about it. Everyone here doesn't care about it when I talk about it. So
yeah.
But the commentators, they are there to give you a narrative. They're there to give you stats. They give you everything about this person about to, throw the ball or whatever. But the reality is the commentator has no bearing on the score. If you just turn the commentator down for a moment, it still has no effect on whether that touchdown takes place or that down is it's all that's going on. So I found that I had to really turn down people's narrative and people's misunderstanding and whatever that looked like, because knowing that it wasn't going to have an outcome unless I allowed it to have an outcome on my life. So,
boy, that's good advice, and that's not always easy to do, though, is it?
That takes a lot of discipline. I found myself, I like to have a lot of boxes ticked at the end of the day. And when we finally left, I was asked, by a couple of churches to look at a couple of roles, and I genuinely just had to say, listen, I'm just taking a few months out. And I genuinely didn't realize how tired I was. I don't think I was burnt out. I don't think I was like completely spent, but I did find myself just craving just some silence but having to force myself. I don't know how people would sit with this, but even praying, I felt the Holy Spirit just tell me, I don't even want you to pray about your next step. Because I was so like, what am I going to do now? And some of that may have come out of I've got to prove that I've stepped into something amazing and God's with me, and all that again. It's that ego. And so to sit for a few months with this voice saying, "Don't ask me about your next step. I'm not going to answer. I don't want you to even think about that. I want you just to rest." And what I learned is that it takes a lot more faith and a lot more trust to rest and allow God to set things up, even though the wheels inside are spinning. The mind is going, but what about? And I found myself just doing whatever I could do to still myself. I would do things like light candles, and I would just sit there until my mind would stop racing, and I would just sit and focus. And I just used those kinds of physical reminders just to sit and practice peace. It's something we have to practice. It's something we've been given, but we actually have to activate in our lives. So, I think I burnt through a lot of candles trying to practice.
But the place smelled great.
That's right. Did nothing for my sinuses at all, but
no. That's really powerful, though, man. That's good because, I think any pastor, anybody who's even been a part of a modestly large church knows it is a grind and it's tiring, even if you're trying to be intentional in keeping things slow.
Yeah.
And at Hillsong we worked, and it was always something, and it was always busy. Yeah. I loved walking into a church when we were ready after leaving, and no one knew who I was. Yeah. And no one needed anything. Yeah. And the pastors we knew them, and they actually attended the college there. We were so blessed to be able to walk in, and they didn't ask a thing of us. Yeah. Because we were in grief, and we were just struggling to figure it out and looking for jobs and stuff. Yeah. And they just let us be. Yeah. Yeah. And every now and then someone would come, see us crying during worship and come pray, just put a hand on us. Beautiful. We weren't asked to volunteer. We weren't asked to do a thing for at least 10 months, Yeah. Yeah. And that was the best thing they could have done for us, was just let us be slow and pause and anonymous, and it let us just get it all out, get all the tears out and get all the confusion processed. Yeah.
That honestly, Robbie, that's such a beautiful picture of what the church should be. Because
Mhm.
I mean, look, anyone who has a church and Robbie Ortiz walks in, I can guarantee you'll be thinking, "Oh yes, I must have done something great here, right?"
That is not what they think.
No, I tell you, I would be thinking,
I keep finding out I scared the heck out of everybody, apparently.
well, I'll tell you what, you can walk into our church anytime you want. You and your beautiful family can walk into our church anytime.
But sorry,
But what it does say though is, what can I get as a pastor out of this person who's walked in with so much experience, so much talent, and so much skill? And I think that the fact that you've said this beautiful church is just let us worship, just let us bawl our eyes out, let us grieve properly, is such a beautiful way of just describing a church that's all about serving and giving you what you need. You needed space, you needed some time to heal, you needed encouragement, you needed prayer. You didn't need to bring anything to the table. You just need to come to the table. And I think that's what church should be about. Instead of looking at, okay, here's another person who can run our department or run our programs or, be an answer to my problems. The church should be their ministry. It's about serving. Who can I serve? What need can I meet? And I think that's a beautiful picture.
Talk about a gray zone, though. That's hard because it's easy to baptize what you just said into really good language and make it what we're about. It's like, oh no, we're going to bring them in and make them a part of this and building and encouraging them. And suddenly you're in this churn that I think both of us know all too well of we're getting volunteers so we can get volunteers so we can get volunteers. I just think it's easy to slip into the wrong way because we do want to empower people, use their gifts, let them go out and build the church, not just on a Sunday, but Monday through Saturday. That's all 100%. But how easy that becomes a thing that just is about utilizing what are they good at? What do they have? Let's get it and use it.
Yeah. I think it's that thing of being able to recognize that if our first role as a church is to equip people for their world, not my world. And I think there's that sense of there's nothing for me to gain other than for me just to do my role and serve the people as opposed to the people. And I get every church has a mission, every church has a method, but the goal is to equip people to go out and do the good works that God's prepared for them. And some of those things will be collectively in the church community. But I would suggest, and on what I'm learning, is that if the majority of that time and that effort is done in the church building or under the church banner, we can see more fruit from that side of things if that's what you're going for. But I also think that if we all empowered our churches to go out and individuals to go out and change their world, we may never see the fruit of that. But maybe we're seeing it from eternity's perspective, and maybe we will see it at some point. It's just that it's probably not going to stroke my ego while I'm here on earth.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think I heard Pastor Susie Silk up in New York. She taught about the gifts at one point, and she pointed out that the teaching gifts and the preaching gifts are themselves for that purpose. Right? Like they're to get people ready to go out on Monday and share the gospel.
Yeah. I would even say even the pastoral gift. There'll be people who just don't know how to listen. They don't know how to show empathy. And if you've got a pastor who's sharing that gift with the church and equipping the saints, the church, with the ability to care for, to love. This is how you care for someone who's going through a cancer diagnosis. This is how to care for someone who's just, suffered an incredible marriage loss or going through grief. If the church is equipped to imagine if we had more people in the world showing empathy and showing care and giving people space and offering encouragement. There's a pastoral gift right there. And the world needs so much more of that.
We do. We need a lot more of that and a lot less talking, in my opinion. Here we are talking, but that's not what I meant.